Welcome, y'all. Welcome to another episode of I'm Doing Great. Episode number 18. We've made it.
Already 18?
Yeah. And
Wow.
Guess what? It's just the two of us today.
It feels weird.
It does, doesn't it?
It feels empty and weird.
That chair's empty.
I miss Gavin.
I miss Gavin too. I miss Gavin all the time.
Yeah, I miss him. When I watch the videos, I'm like, I miss him.
Yeah, to the people wondering if Gina and I are in the same room, we are in the same room. The decision to have a green screen was just because the room, we didn't quite get to renovate it right away. But the podcast and the show it's almost schizophrenic in a way where I haven't decided or we haven't decided what we want it to look like yet.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just changing things. I think your setup is pretty much...
I love my wall. I never want to leave my wall.
Yeah.
Mike is trying to make me move to the other side of the room and do some table or whatever, but we're a young podcast. I think when people see a show like this, they think that it's really easy to like change your background or change a setting, but it's not easy.
No. What is easy though is putting up a green screen. So I took a picture of Gina's wall and I put it behind me. So now
I liked
now
Putin
Gina's
on the bear.
Wall. What'd you say?
Putin on the bear was the best.
Putin on the bear was good, but Putin on the bear was done when I didn't really know how to key the green screen correctly, so there were parts of it that were a little bit more transparent than the other.
See.
And then on the second episode with the green screen, I was able to, the one with Nick,
right?
I was able to, kind of change.
But
that
you looked
around.
A little undead on that one.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah, you looked a little washed out.
Someone commented, they were
like a zombie.
Someone was like, it took me 8 minutes to realize that wasn't a barber.
A barber,
behind.
yeah.
I thought that was great.
That was so funny.
Someone was also like, can you explain why you had Paul McCartney in the background? And I just went, yes. And I never answered the question. I just said yes. So as you can see, I put Gina's wall behind
we have
me.
a little bit of continuity.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So if you haven't finished throwing up from being confused from the last couple of episodes, then
We've
one's
had
for
some
you.
big guests on. And I know that actually confuses a lot of people. They're like, how did you get Gavin McInnes? And then, so it was a good lineup. John, Gavin, Sav, Nick, Bryson. Nick's episode was great.
Amir, yeah.
We had some really good guests. And I know that there were probably some conservatives who hated us for having Nick on. But can we just debrief about Nick for a second? Because I was very pleasantly surprised at, first of all, what a nice guy he is.
Very polite, yeah.
He's very polite. Like when you see him on the and I've been watching his live streams over the past few days just to get more of an understanding of America First and what he's all about. Obviously, we know he's extremely intelligent, but when you see him on his show, you think he's going to be like Bryson in person, but he's he's kind of gentlemanly. He's just very nice. And
well, yeah. I mean, I think there are personality differences in the way one would interact on his own show and then when invited to another show. So I think like a show like this, he can kind of relax. I was going to say unwind, but
same with Gavin.
Yeah. Just more relaxed. You don't have to necessarily be turned on or not. But I mean, he wasn't totally different.
Yeah.
It's not like his personality just switched. It's just,
he was more muted, I guess is the word.
I would just say relaxed.
Yeah, relaxed. Yeah. Gavin was definitely more relaxed than I thought he was going to be. I mean, Gavin is kind of similar. Like in person, he's not like he is on his show. Yeah,
this is the reason why. And when Gina and I first had the idea for the show and the idea of guests came up, you and I both essentially landed on we only want in-studio guests. We don't want to do any Zoom calls or anything like that, just because I think it takes away from the personal aspect of talking to somebody. We'd rather have them in the room. Mm-hmm. If we do push back on something, they can't go anywhere. It's not like they can mute us, or it's not like they can,
get off the call.
Right, get off the call. They're here.
Because we lock them in the room when they're in. We just you can't get out.
There's an electronic numerical lock on the door.
Yeah.
Deadbolt, 100%. Yeah, so that's just the way it is. So we see the comments and interacting with you guys. We see all the people who you suggest to, come on the show. And if there's someone that we really want to grab, we'll reach out to that person. But the goal is to get them here in person.
Yeah, I mean, look, pretty much every person that you suggest we would have on. There's nobody that we would say no to. We would have literally anybody on who's willing to come on. It's just a matter of the funds. Our funds are limited each month, so... And we fly them out and we put them up because we don't, we just want to make it a good experience for them. So we're going to have people on. Like I know everyone wants us to have Kai Schwimmer on. Mm-hmm. Kai, you got to come on soon, but we got to get Kai out here. And then like Michelle Malkin, and there's just a lot of people.
Yeah, there are a lot of people, but there are people who are local here in Tennessee that we're able to get on. And we do look at your recommendations, and we do look at the people that we're making a list. Yes, we're making a list. We're jotting everybody down. And honestly, to be fair, I would pick someone who I know of, to have on, like that would be a priority. Like there are some people who are recommended that I honestly don't know who they are. Yeah. So it's a bit of a lower priority for me to want them to come on the show. We are going to have Landon Starbuck on in a few weeks. Robbie Starbuck's wife. She's awesome. Her whole thing is she is an expert on the sex trafficking industry. It can talk a lot about what really happens at the border and why it's so important for us to be securing the border in terms of sex trafficking and just the number of children that are trafficked across the border and what it means for child pornography and all that. And I think it's a really interesting topic because it's this one of the silent major issues that's happening in America that nobody likes to talk about because it's very inconvenient and upsetting too. But we'll have her on soon. Yeah, let's actually talk about some of the people that we plan on having on. So Landon's one. Yeah, Robbie we're going to have on eventually. Robbie Starbuck, who's running for Congress here in Tennessee. He's awesome. Ty Fish. Have you ever heard of him? Ty Fish? I don't know who that is. He's a comedian and he's has a big following on Instagram, and he's well known for, I guess, doing a lot of Joe Biden impressions. He does an amazing impression of Bill Burr. If you look him up, I typed in Ty Fish and I'm looking at a TY Beanie Baby right now. No. Look at, God, I can't remember. Let me look. That can't be right. Let me look at his name real quick. While you're looking that up, did we get questions for this week? I did save some questions. You did? Okay, great. We'll get into questions today. We're definitely going to talk about some of the wacky things going on in politics and more specifically what's going on with conservatives. Conservatives are really pissing me off. We talked about this a little bit with Bryson. Wait, go ahead. What were you going to say? Ty the Fish. Ty the Fish? Yeah. So look up Ty the Fish, but spell fish with a C after the S. He's an actor, comedian. So not the TY Beanie Baby. No. He was just on the latest Gina Carano Daily Wire movie. He has a small part in that. Oh yeah, I've seen him in Gina Carano's photos and stuff. Yeah, you got to get Gina Carano. Just on, super funny. Gina Carano would be cool. Alex Stein has expressed a deep interest in coming on the show, so it's just a matter of time. I want the vaccine for my wife. Yeah. Who else? Do we want? Well, this is what I meant to. I'm dropping this into your lap on air. Do I know? We should. I think we're going to be able to go to InfoWars if we want and film with Alex and Owen and Harrison at the same time. No, like do 3 episodes. Like it would be us. It would be us going out to Austin, obviously, because Owen can't fly. Well, it's not that he can't fly; it's that he doesn't because the feds are literally after him. Yeah. And if we go there, like Sav is going to hopefully get us the hookup. And then, this is like for later, probably in the later summer. Yeah. But we'll be able to have all 3 of the InfoWars guys. That'd be great. It would be great. Yeah. I mean, Alex Jones. Do you have to bring the green screen with me? I don't know. Yeah, that would be, that I just want to hug Alex Jones. I want to give him a handshake. Actually, he could bear hug me. Yeah. He's very strong. He'll probably ask you to sit on his lap for sure. For sure. He'll be like, come here, you little saucy redhead. Come sit on my lap over here. Come take a seat in my lap. That was bad. That's the other thing, your laugh. I love hearing it. And I texted you about this last night. Like, people are dying from you laughing in the background. My cackle is like, whatever. Because that's exactly what it is. It's a cackle. And that's why it's funny. I am who I am. Hey, you know what? I'm going through a lawsuit. Well, yeah, I can't talk about it, though. Oh, you can't? Why did I say that then? Why did I bring it up? Well, you just got to tease him a little bit. Yeah. Just give him the tip. Some people gonna get it. I know a little bit about it, but I do have questions. Do you want questions? Yeah, let's do questions, and then we can get into how much conservatives piss me off today. Yeah, these were from a week ago. Okay. But I saved them. Okay, just in case we ever did another episode again where it's just the 2 of us. Okay. This is, should same-sex couples raise children? That comes from CMDE Charles. Come to Charles. It's a really tough one. Well, we talked with Amir about this. Yeah, we did. It's a really tough one because, there are exceptions to the rule. For example, like I went to Dave Rubin's house once when I was working for Candace, and it was not the house he's in now, but he and his husband they're such a nice couple, and I love his husband, David, and like they are a couple that would raise a child, right? Yeah. But we can't base things like this on exceptions to the rule. Yeah. And especially coming at it from a Christian conservative perspective, children should be
children should be born to a mother and a father.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the answer is no,
Speaking
unfortunately.
of, and I agree with you. I mean, can they? Sure. Should they? I don't
Right.
think so. I think there's a net negative to it.
Right.
Speaking of Christian conservatives, a lot of people have been saying that I blaspheme. They're like, tell the male host to stop blaspheming so much.
Why? What do you say?
I don't know.
Is it because I was going to say you, but I also curse?
I guess.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Blaspheme. But it's not like you haven't said anything blasphemous though about Christ or anything or the Bible.
I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of touchy people out there.
There are a lot of touchy people. And I think that it's very easy for people, no matter what your political views are, to sit behind a keyboard and criticize and be like,
like I said before, get your own show. Don't blaspheme on it.
That's always Mike's response. Get your own show.
No, but it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to, it just comes off as like so self-righteous. Like, don't change the backgrounds. Hey, don't talk so much. I just saw another comment that was like, wow, the guy on the John Doyle episode didn't let John finish the sentence. And I was like, what? Like, clearly we had him on for almost 2 hours. I'm pretty sure he finished a couple of sentences there.
I think he felt heard and seen.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. He felt heard and seen. Yeah. Here's another thing, just so everyone knows, I'm not a Navy SEAL. So, I mean, I wear their merch sometimes, but I'm not a Navy SEAL. Jesus.
Oh, do they get upset that you wear the merch?
Someone's gonna say, someone's like, hey, how dare he wear the trident? He hasn't earned that. And just be like, okay, if I was wearing a Yankee hat.
They're probably mad that I go through phases of my nose ring. I'm going through a non-nose ring phase right now. They're probably mad that I had my nose ring in for the first several episodes.
This is going to be a problem.
Coming back.
This is going to be a problem, especially with the Groypers figuring out that we're not exclusively catering to Groyper only guests. They're like, tell the woman to shut up too much. Like, oh God.
Yeah. They love that one. I mean, but whatever. I still like the Groypers being here. I'll take all the women jokes. I mean, because I don't really.
You can handle it.
I can handle it. Like I don't.
I'm also
mind.
not a white knight. Well, I'll tell them to shut up. But
yeah, exactly.
No, say whatever you want to Gina. She can take it.
Like, I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. I'm not one of those women that puts myself online and then gets offended when people do things and say things that they do and say online. It's like, it doesn't matter who you are. You have to accept criticism when you're online. Can
you explain something to me? You said it on the episode with Nick. What is a pick-me girl?
Oh,
you said, I'm not one of these pick-me girls.
Yeah, pick-me girl, if I think I'm explaining this correctly, they say that a pick-me girl is somebody who just says what men want to hear, or
gotcha.
Just so that they can be like accepted by men, and so that men will be like, oh yeah, she's the one. So they'll say things like, women belong in the kitchen and women shouldn't ever work. Women should just have babies and be barefoot in the kitchen. And what did I say that? Oh yeah, I think I was saying the pick me girl thing, that like I think that women should accept our true nature of being more emotional, less rational, more neurotic, more compassionate, more, what's the word, up and down, less steady. Like, I think that those are all good things for us to accept as women, because like I said to Nick, it makes us excellent nurturers and mothers. And that could be construed as some troll being like, she's just saying that to be a controversial pick me girl.
Right.
But
you're
I
married. You don't need to say anything like that.
Yeah. Like I'm good. My husband did pick me.
So I guess a pick me girl would be considered in the same vein as like a male feminist, I guess. Yeah.
I guess. So yeah, that's what a pick
Speaking
me
of
girl
in the
is.
kitchen, I posted a photo on my personal Instagram. It's a photo that I took a couple years ago. I guess this was on Tuesday, International Women's Day. And my wife commented on it. She's like, how dare you post a guy on National Women's Day? And I was like, this is funny coming from someone who's literally in the kitchen right now.
Lol.
And she was like, oh, I thought you would say something like, how do you know he's not a woman or something like that?
Yeah.
But I said no.
I think it's funny that we
funnier.
accidentally released Nick's episode on International Women's Day. Like,
Who said accidentally?
Sorry. Oops, not oops.
Niston. Someone who's going to become a popular question asker on the show, Niston. He says, what was the hardest thing either of you had to deal with in setting up the podcast? Is it ongoing?
I can speak for me.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me is the time, because I don't like to leave my baby for more than 2 hours maximum, for a lot of different reasons, because she's still exclusively breastfeeding and she's eating a lot more now because she's going through a growth spurt. and she's just eating more because she's at that age where she's eating more. I'm at a point where if she eats 6 or 7 ounces, I can't pump that much because the pumps are never, ever going to be as strong as the suction of a baby. And I just like to be around her all the time. So the biggest issue for me is to just, find those 2 hours and make sure that she's with the very few people that I trust her to be with. But I mean, I think it's, like, I'm definitely one of those people that believes that a mother should be with her child like pretty much all the time. But I do think that it can be healthy to like have a little bit of separation for the mom and the child, because I think that the child needs to also learn to like see different faces and stuff. So that's the biggest issue for me, is once a week, sometimes twice a week, finding the 2 hours where I can like, be comfortable leaving her with my mom, or if my husband like isn't working that day, leaving her with him.
Yeah, mine's more on the creative side, and I guess trying to figure out how we want it to look. We've gone through different microphones. We've gone through sitting on a couch next to each other to having our own setups like this, and then figuring out soundproofing issues, which is still like an ongoing thing, and lighting issues, just finding different pieces of equipment until we find something that we like. And I didn't want to wait and figure it all out before we started this podcast. I just wanted to start it.
Yeah.
Just because I felt like if we wait, we wouldn't have certain opportunities to have the people that we've had on. So the creative thing is probably the biggest ongoing issue.
Yeah.
And, we might get it solved soon. We might not. This might be an ever-changing podcast. But until we do, I'm glad that everybody's with us.
I just want to say one thing. This will probably be the only sincere thing I ever say about Mike on this show. So record it and etch it into your brain forever. Mike does, he does everything for the show. He found the space. He got all the furniture. He got the cameras. I mean, obviously we split everything in terms of financially, but he sets everything up. He's the one who made the space. He's the one who found our first space too. So everything that you see and hear is done by Mike. I literally just show up and put on a little bit of lipstick. So thank Mike in the comments, because he really has put this whole thing together, and it would not exist without him.
Well, yeah, no, and thank you. But, you're half of the podcast. So I want to say that you're equally responsible for the stuff that happens here too, because you do post a lot to social media.
Right. I
and
do
you
that.
are going between with most of the guests. I think you're in contact with them. At least you have been with more of them than I have. But yes, thank you very much. That means a lot.
So that ends the sincere part of this episode.
Somebody, mark it. Oh, so on YouTube now you can, I don't know if we turn it on for the videos, but people can create their own clips if they want to, and they can reshare them, which is interesting. Oh. I don't know if you think we should turn that feature off or keep it on.
No, I turn it on. You know why? You know what I want? I want a fan to create an
out of
I'm
context.
doing great out of context.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, if you're out there and if you have the time and you want to create the I'm doing great out of context Instagram and YouTube channel, please
I will send you free merch whenever we create merch. If you create that page and
run it efficiently.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll send you merch.
Then you can get the free merch.
Yeah.
This person has asked some questions before, and this is all from Instagram, but he asked any upcoming guests, and we pretty much answered that earlier. Yeah. This is from someone named Cal Tot Pace. Cal Dot Pace.
Cal Tot.
It's a 2-part question. Opinions on stay-at-home dads and women being the breadwinner worker. And then this is part 2. I feel like most husbands/dads don't have the patience or nurturing abilities like the mom. And we did talk about that with Nick, and that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I think it's very unnatural for guys to stay at home, raise the kids while the woman or wife works. I think it's just a very anti-biological standpoint and unnatural part of a man. I think a man has that natural desire to be the provider. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. It's unnatural, but it's not immoral. I don't want it to come across as like it's wrong if that's the family setup that you have, because I live in the real world, and I understand that, things happen, and I know some families where the dad maybe lost his job due to like the vaccine mandate or something like that, or whatever setup a family has. Like, it's not our place to judge them and say that it's wrong for a dad to stay at home with the kids, but it is unnatural. And I think it's definitely much, much harder to have that kind of setup. In terms of the woman being the breadwinner, that's same thing, unnatural, but not immoral. But I do think that we have to, when you think about that kind of setup, there's actually a lot of statistics that show that it can be it has real negative effects on the family. So for example, a study just came out in the last couple of weeks that showed a woman who is the breadwinner or makes more money than the husband, she's much more likely to cheat on the husband.
Yeah.
Because, and I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it comes down to the fact that the woman is just out of the home a lot. And we know that women already are statistically more likely to cheat on their husband than the other way around, which I know is shocking to a lot of people, because if you turn on a movie, it's like the guy is like, you know, the girl's crying because the guy cheats on her, but it's usually statistically the other way around. And so when you put the woman in a position where she's out, we talked about this with Gavin a little bit, when she's out at the office all day and she's dressed in her really nice clothes and she's got her high heels on and she spends most of her time around other men and most of her time looking good for other men. And then she goes home and probably kicks off her heels, wipes off her makeup and is in sweatpants and doesn't really have anything left to give to her husband. That sets the woman up and the husband up for just a really bad situation where it makes it much more likely for the woman to be unfaithful. And I do think that also is unnatural for the woman to be the main provider while the husband stays home. But again, saying that, it's not like it's necessarily immoral. I think that there's also kind of like, when you get down to the manosphere that you see online, I think that people get kind of so obsessed with like gender roles and biological roles between men and women. But if you're coming at it also from a Christian perspective, like at the end of the day, what matters most is that like your marriage honors God and that your marriage is a way for you to serve God. And sometimes that may take different turns than what it should look like, what it should look like in terms of like what we accept culturally. But if you're, you know, coming at it from a Christian perspective, I think as long as you are, you know, using your marriage and your family to honor God and you're doing the right thing and following God, sometimes, because I know a great couple that now they're at a point where the husband provides and he's working and owns his own business. But for the first like 3 to 5 years of their marriage, he wasn't able to work because of some paperwork issues and the wife was providing.
Yeah.
But they're like devoted Christians and, you know, they made sure that they were still walking the path and they were really honoring what they were meant to do to serve Christ. And I think that's very admirable. So that's a really long-winded way to say, yeah, unnatural, but it's not necessarily like you're, you know, wrong and you're doing terrible things for your kids.
Lua Fletch.
Oh, wait, there was another second part to that question, wasn't there?
No. Yeah, you pretty much answered both.
Okay.
I feel like the second part was, I feel like most husbands and dads don't have the patience or nurturing abilities
that
like
is
the mom.
so true. My poor husband, he
Yeah.
tried to put the baby to sleep the other night and she's just...
I put the baby to sleep last night and it went fine.
Men lack the touch, I feel like. Also, my child is like, she's just really picky. Like
It's a patience thing too. I think we don't have
Yeah.
that not even a biological, but evolutionary quality of patience.
because men are better with objects. Men
Yes.
are much better with inanimate objects.
Well, not me, not me. Well, I can't remember what it was. I think I was putting together a bookcase, and it's one of those bookcases where you have to put in some of the center shelves in once the outer structure is done. So you kind of have to slide and maneuver them in a way. And if the legs aren't malleable, then you can't loosen them up to slide a piece in. And I'm in the other room just yelling at this thing. And my wife is like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Just leave me alone." And then I was struck, and then I finished putting together, so I thought I did, until like the drawer on the bottom was facing the wrong way when I put it in. So I'm like, oh, now I have to go take this whole thing apart, put it back. So I got out, I left my office and I went to the back deck and I just screamed, "Fuck!" And I came back in and she was
There you
like,
go.
"What is wrong with you?"
There you go.
I'm just like, I had to release some stress.
You just got to get it out sometimes.
But I think I would rather put a bookcase together than deal with a crying baby, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think most men would.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bookcases are the extent of my frustration with objects. Anything else, guns, photo equipment, I'm usually pretty good at. Let's see here. Here's another one from Lua Fletch. How many kids do each of you hope to have? I'd say 2.
10?
I'd be happy with 2.
No, I mean, I would like a lot of kids, but I think it depends on a lot. It depends on a lot.
Tell you what, if gas hits $11 a gallon, we'll stick with 1 for the foreseeable future.
I'm a person who's open to adopting because there's so many kids that need to be adopted. I mean, I've always kind of wanted a big family. I grew up an only child.
Would you take an Asian or would you take a black baby? What kind of kid would you adopt?
Well, I would obviously give them an IQ test before I brought them into my home.
What's the minimum age you would take in?
Minimum age?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maximum age, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Well,
Yeah.
okay. How about from what age range would you pick from ideally?
I obviously would prefer an infant. It's
Really?
so hard. So I spoke to my pastor. My pastor adopted 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
They had 1 biologically and adopted their next 3 kids. And it's really difficult. I see adoption as a ministry that you're called to, because it takes a very special person to commit to raising a child that's not biologically yours. Like I don't care what anyone says. It's really, really hard. It's much harder. And so I asked my pastor one day, we were kind of in passing, got done with church, stopped by and said hey to him on the way out. And I said, by the way, I want to talk. Because we had just had our baby. And I was joking with him. I said, my husband came in one night when she was having trouble sleeping. He was like, oh, we're definitely not having another kid. And I was like, you're not allowed to say that. And I said that. We joked about that to my pastor. And then I said, oh, what about adopting? And he said, can I give you a piece of advice? And I said, yeah. He says, don't do it. And I said, really? And he says, it is. He says, you just got to be ready for your entire life to be turned upside down. And I actually appreciated that, because he wasn't saying it in a negative way, but he was being real about what it means to adopt kids. And I one of my guilty pleasures on TikTok and Instagram is following the families that adopt like 8 to 10 kids, like their foster families, and their whole house is just like madness. And they have kids from all different backgrounds, and they adopt kids at like 12 years old or 2 years old or whatever. And I watch these moms and I'm so impressed by them, because it is obviously their full-time job. It's their whole life, and it's a ministry they've been called to do. But I don't know. I think about it sometimes. I mean, because I was a high risk pregnancy, because I had a pulmonary embolism, which is blood clots lodged in your lungs, and I was 20 years old from the birth control I was taking, which is why women never take the birth control pill. And that automatically makes you a high risk pregnancy, because your likelihood of contracting another pulmonary embolism like significantly increases when you're pregnant if you've had a PE before. So there's quite a few risks for me to be pregnant, like more than once. So, we talk about, I would like to have 4 kids. But
yeah. So the ideal
there's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about.
Speaking of moms, okay, we're going to coin this right here on this show, on this episode, and from here on out, it will spawn, it will move around, but pink pilled is the mom pill.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you've been pink pilled, you are a woman who has now been not convinced, but you have accepted your biological, your evolutionary, and your from God given, would you say talent or purpose? Nature is to,
I like purpose,
is to cultivate and create life and to nurture that life. So we want to hear from you. If you've been pink pilled, let us know in the comments down in this episode, or DM us on Instagram. But be very curious to hear about your pink pill journey. Yeah, the pink pill moment. And I hear so many women. I don't think I've ever met a mom who wasn't like significantly pink pilled. Pink pilled. She was like, "This is it right here." Should we make a pink pilled shirt as a piece of merch? Yeah, absolutely. I want a pink pilled hat. I don't usually like to wear pink, but I'll definitely wear a pink pilled hat. Okay, nice. Well, we can make it like a pale pink and not super like neon. Not like the pussy hat pink. Yeah, no. Our hat will be different. It'll have a baby on it. Oh, like a dad hat, but we'll make a mom hat. How about that? Yeah. There are going to be a lot of ways there are going to be a lot of ways where you guys can interact with us. I think we're going to be launching our locals shortly in the coming days or in the coming weeks or so. So that will be a place where you'll be able to definitely interact with us and be a part of our community. Should we tell them what we're going to call our community? Yeah. So the show is called I'm Doing Great. So we're going to call the community We're Doing Great. Do you get it? I don't want to call us like believers or we're graders. It's kind of dumb. So just join the We're Doing Great community. Yeah. An opportunity arises for you to meet your past selves. What's one piece of advice you'd give? Thanks _Tony.Tony, friend of the show. Don't do it. Don't do what? That's what I would tell myself. Don't do it. That's a very vague piece of advice, but you would tell your past self at any point in time, don't do it. No, I mean, it's the serious answer is I would, the one piece of advice would be to return to Christianity. Okay. I don't know. It would depend on the version of me that I'm meeting, right? I think if it was a younger version of me, like 18-year-old version, I'd probably tell him to join the military. Oh. If it was a version of myself after I got into photography and I'm working in it, one piece of advice would be don't get too big ahead. Mm-hmm. And the other, I guess, side piece of advice would be like, make sure you got a contract. And then, they're different. I think if I would go to the version of me a month before my daughter arrived, I would say patience.
Yeah.
Just try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was rough for a little bit.
Was it? Was it hard?
Yeah.
At what age did it start to get easier?
It hasn't quite left yet, but it's still there. But I think once your child, and you'll see this, once your child consciously smiles at you and kind of knows what you're saying and is able to run around and walk around, that's where it gets a little bit easier.
Right.
When it was, I'm crying and you're not going to know the reason why, that was when it was tough.
That's what, that's
because I always thought it was my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's patience is it. And for any dad who's expecting, you just got to be patient. That's all it is. It's not their fault.
Oh.
Let's get back to the questions here because we have a couple more. Oh no, that was it. Those were the questions that I saved.
There's one thing I wanted to talk about from Nick's episode, a carryover from the last episode, unless we have more that you find. There was a clip that was shared, and then I got a couple questions on it. Nick said something like, "We want nationalism, we want Christianity, we want Trumpism," and then I said to him, "We want division." I said, "We want more division." And so I had a couple people DM me and ask me, "What do you mean by that, Gina? What do you mean you want division? Because it sounds harsh." And here's what I mean by that. We as conservatives, we should be drawing a very hard line in the sand about who we want to unite with, about who we want to fight for conservative values with. We do not want to unite with bozos like Matt Schlapp, the head of CPAC, who accepted money from Google, from George Soros, and just went on Twitter to call William Thomas a she, her, and tell conservatives to have compassion for a guy who was wrecking women's sports and swinging his male genitals around in the ladies' locker room. We want division. Oh my gosh, there's a huge bug there. We want division from people like that. We want division from so-called conservatives who are pro-abortion. We want division from so-called conservatives who are totally okay with mass immigration. Is it dead?
Yeah.
Great. And so this is what I mean. We need to draw a hard line in the sand to separate ourselves from these so-called conservatives, these spineless, weak, squishy, whatever kind of conservatives you want to call them, because this whole big tent philosophy and this idea that we should be accepting people who promote the gay culture and the LGBT life, like, we do not want to be uniting with these people because they don't get us anywhere. First of all, I don't care if we have 300 million of these so-called conservatives on our side. They're not going to do us any good. They're not going to vote for the right people. They're going to allow tyrannical governments to shut down small businesses and to impose vaccine and mask mandates. And so we should be at a point right now, especially when we're looking at what's happening with establishment conservatives and mainstream conservatives, we need to draw a hard line in the sand and not be afraid to say, no, we want to be divided from you. We want to be separate from these spineless cowards who are too afraid to stand up for traditional American conservative values. For example, at CPAC, Tulsi Gabbard is speaking. I'm sorry, what is conservative about Tulsi Gabbard? I understand there are some conservatives who like her and who appreciate some of the things that she said and standing up to big tech. Okay, that's all well and good. Doesn't make her conservative, y'all. She's pro-abortion. What are we conserving if we're not conserving and protecting innocent human life in the womb?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, this is a featured speaker at CPAC, and they've got drag queens running around in front of kids and promoting gay culture and the LGBTQ LMNOP alphabet people lifestyle. This is not conservatism, and these are not the people that we need to be uniting with. Division is a good thing. It is objectively a good thing to separate good from evil and right from wrong.
Right.
And we as conservatives need to be strong enough to stand up and say, we are not united with these people. We stand on our own, and we are going to fight for traditional conservative American values. And this is why it actually makes my blood boil. Having met Nick and watched several of his live streams now, it makes my blood boil to see so many mainstream conservatives so easily write him off, ostracize him, and support the persecution and censorship of him. Why? Because he made a couple of offensive jokes about black people and the Holocaust?
Yeah.
You think that is worse than Matt Schlapp accepting gender theory on the stage of CPAC, you think that is worse than having a pro-abortion person speak at the largest conservative political action conference in the country? You think that's worse than the weak, spineless conservatives who allow the government to shut down small businesses and deem what business is essential and non-essential? That to me is like, you think that Michelle Malkin is worse than these mainstream conservatives we have? Like, we need to be standing up for people like Ian Smith, who stood up against the New Jersey governor's orders and mandates shutting down businesses. He risked it all to stand up and say, I'm not doing this. I'm not bowing down to a tyrannical government. These are the kind of conservatives that we need to be uniting with. And so that's why having Nick on the show and thinking about all of these, they call them fringe conservatives, but actually watching Nick's live stream last night, he made a point that was 100% correct. He said, we are not fringe. Those of us who embrace true conservative values and who are against redefining what marriage is and who are against putting drag queens in front of kids, we are not the fringe. We are actually who the true conservatives are. The fringe conservatives are the ones like Matt Schlapp, who pretend like gender theory is a thing. Yeah, you are actually Dan Crenshaw. Like, you guys are on the left fringe of what it means to be
Republican
a conservative.
In name only. Well, what someone like Tulsi reminds me of is kind of like anyone but Trump. You know, that idea on the left, like, you know, anyone but Trump. Yeah. We hate Biden, but anybody, or not we hate Biden. Yeah, we hate Biden, but anybody but Trump, I'll still vote for him because it's not Trump. Like, that's how I feel like Tulsi is like, oh, you say a couple of cool things against the Biden administration, and then conservatives eat that up with a spoon, and they expect this is how she really is. But again, she's not a conservative,
right?
You know, whether it's supporting universal health care or abortion or anything like that. Yeah, it's I get it. It's the whole thing where, you know, conservatives love when someone on the left kind of makes that move or makes that transition over. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm getting hit up now about this lawsuit.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
When are you going to be able to talk about it?
Well, what I can say is that it's a licensing issue. So but a couple of entities used a photo of mine without permission and without securing a licensing agreement, which is, you know, it's quote unquote theft, but it happens all the time. And all that needs to be settled with is just, you know, compensation. That's it. That's all I can say right now. But I'm getting hit up about it from people who are involved, and I can't talk about it obviously with them.
I can't wait to hear about it.
It's just, it infuriates me as a creative because you want to be compensated for the fruits of your labor, because I own the means of the production of that photograph. So as a worker, I deserve to be compensated fairly, especially from a corporation who stole my art. No, but especially as a capitalist, like, I create a product and I don't want it stolen from me.
It's mine.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say about that. But
see, we want division from people like that.
No, for real. But yeah, there was something that was very poignant, what you said about clarifying that statement. And
also, I just want to add really quick too, people hear the word division and they think it's hateful. There's nothing hateful about uniting with people that are good and right and rejecting people that are wrong. Because another thing that Nick said on his live stream last night, these people like Matt Schlapp and Dan Crenshaw, they are our enemies. It's not like they're just people that we have some kind of personal issue with, and
ideologically,
we don't like them.
I think I want to say I don't want to put it out there that, you know.
Yeah, ideologically, right? Yes. Ideologically, they are enemy. Anybody who accepts and embraces gender theory, you are our enemy. Anybody who can just lie down and take a tyrannical government, shutting down businesses and imposing all these arbitrary mandates, like, if you're okay with that, you are ideologically our enemy. And I think that needs to be said. And I think it's a really good thing, and it's a moral thing to be able to draw those lines in order to protect ourselves, to protect our family, and protect our country.
Yes, to echo the sentiment of a friend of the show's, an Austin Fletcher, better known as Fleckus. Dan Crenshaw, why wear a mask?
LOL.
That's one of the things he's after. He's like, it's two pictures of Charlie Kirk and a group of people, and then Dan Crenshaw and a group of people, and Crenshaw is the only one wearing a mask. So he keeps on asking him, why are you wearing a mask?
Why wear a mask?
Why wear a mask?
Speaking of Fleckas, he's agreed to come on the show.
Oh, there's somebody who would,
He's agreed to come on. We just got to get him out here.
Oh, could people just
love
stop?
Fleckas.
I'm going to turn this over.
Fleckas is great. Fleckas is one of the few conservatives out there who really gets culture.
Yeah.
He really, really gets it. And his videos are spot on, and he's funny, and he gets it. He's all there.
He is all there, and we can't wait to have him on the show. There's one thing that I'm going to push against Fleckus on, and it's something that seems to be very close to his heart. So utilizing the YouTube clip feature, if you want to clip this out and send it to Fleckus, I don't get the hate that you have for pit bulls and the utter smear campaign of pit bulls that you are running right now.
Oh,
and when we have you on the show, I'm going to push back.
I'm going to bring a pit bull.
I'm going to fight with you. We're going to end this.
Well, you just settle it. Have him fight a pit bull.
There's no such thing as a bad pit bull. It's bad owners.
Yeah. Just like guns don't kill people.
People kill people.
Isn't that how it goes?
No, I mean, pit bulls get a bad rap just because they're very scary looking. But I've seen a number of small yappy dogs be more violent towards children than I have pit bulls.
What's funny is that the dogs that are actually responsible for the most bites are poodles. It's just that they're not deadly bites.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people think my dog is a pit bull.
What do they call those? Like the anti-bullying laws that a lot of cities have adopted. In certain jurisdictions, you're not allowed to have a terrier or pit bull terrier mixed dog. I know in England, I think their pit bulls are outlawed, but there are types of terriers that you can have. And I've had a couple of pit bulls.
You have? I love pit bulls.
The first dog that I ever had, and it's funny that, he's running such a campaign against the pit bulls like this.
I missed this. Where is this?
Who?
Fleckus,
he has merch. He has merch slandering the pit bulls.
No, he doesn't. Fleckus.
Okay, so the first dog I ever had, Tyson, I got him from a shelter. And I mean, I walked by a bunch of dogs, and they were in their kennels, and I met a couple dogs who were just all over the place, really, really, really loud and barking a lot and just aggressive. And when I came to Tyson's kennel, he wasn't called Tyson at the time. He was kind of in the corner of the kennel and just quiet and really nervous. And so I said, can I see that dog? And they bring you into a room, and you're allowed to interact with the dog on your own. And Tyson just walked in really slow, really kind of sad looking. And I said, I'll take him. So I bring the dog into the car, and I said, I think I'm going to start calling you Champ. So he's like, okay, sitting in the back. Aww. And I bring him to the house where I was living with at the time, in New York, and a roommate had a dog named Rocky. I bring Tyson in, they're sniffing each other, and I see the dog start to sniff around Tyson's ear, and his lip moves up, and I'm like, oh no. So I'm about to pull him back, and Tyson just lets loose on this dog, puts a hole through his ear. So I said to myself, after it was all done, I said, we're calling you Tyson. It makes sense. Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield biting the ear off. And Tyson was just the sweetest dog. I mean, my parents effectively adopted him when I moved to Brooklyn because he'd gotten into a really bad accident where he had to have one of his legs amputated.
Oh, no, don't tell me that.
And the apartment that I lived in was up 3 flights. So I asked my parents if he could stay there. And my mom was initially against it. But then after a couple months, that was her 4th child, that dog. And after he had eventually gotten cancer, we had to put him down. And I said, Mom, do you want another dog? She says, absolutely not. I can't. She's like, a piece of my heart, went with that dog. I said, okay.
Stop. I'm going to cry. Animal stories make me cry.
Because you want to talk about pit bulls?
I see this shirt now. It says Kid Thrasher.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? I'll show you some thrashing.
So we'll talk to Fleckus about that.
Fleckus, come on the show.
He has some cool merch.
I like Fleckus. Fleckus has a good vibe.
Fleckus is just cool. Like when
all
I
around
see him,
10 out of 10.
Yeah, when I see him, I'm like, dude, you're so cool. I feel so lame next to Fleckus.
You know how I met him?
I feel like a nerd next to Fleckus.
Do you want to know how I met Fleckus?
How?
From doing the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not going to go through this. Yeah, so in one episode, we talked about a book. I was doing a book. Fleckus was going to be featured in it, so I met him, and we actually went to Berkeley together. We went to a Milo speech that was canceled at the University of Berkeley, and an all-out pretty much riot.
Oh wow!
Erupted, and Fleckus was there doing his on the street kind of thing.
I love that when Fleckus does the on the street thing, he looks like a lib, so people will talk to him.
Yeah. Well, he initially started to, but then as he got more popular, he started wearing very controversial things like a hat with an American flag on it. So instantly,
that's like you're
instantly not a leftist.
Fascist for sure.
Fascist for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was having breakfast with a buddy of mine this morning, and my buddy is I would classify him as a liberal, though I would classify him as a free thinker. He understands different topics and he understands different points of view. But he certainly has some that we disagree with. And he was saying, so what is considered, I would think that pretty much everybody is an anti-fascist, right? What does the right have such a problem with the term anti-fascist? And I was saying, historically, there's really no problem with it. Historically, the anti-fascist movement started in Italy with the communists. Basically, there were two groups. There were the communists and there were the fascists. So if you were an anti-fascist, it pretty much essentially meant you were pro-communist because there wasn't some sort of democratic system that was in Italy at the time. It was either communism or fascism, and fascism just at the time happened to take a really big hold of Italy and then spread eventually to Germany. So I said, so anti-fascist, if you want to take it literally, not being a fascist, probably, a good thing. Especially if you are a fan of personal liberty and personal freedoms and all that kind of stuff. So yes, anti-fascist. What happened is today in the West, the term anti-fascist really just means someone who is, or if you call someone a fascist, you're basically saying someone who doesn't agree with me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to shut you down. Oh, you're on the right, you're immediately a fascist. Yeah. So basically anti-fascist in the U.S., I guess, means left wing. It basically means not conservative, not Republican, not libertarian. So that's kind of, where the term has gotten corrupted. And I guess a lot of people really don't know that, but he was smart enough to ask what's going on here with this term anti-fascist.
TikTok is the worst because all the comments are like, "Oh, you guys had another fascist on." I'm like, do you guys know what the word fascist means? They don't know.
Well, they like to say, and this is something that my friend said, he's like, our grandparents were anti-fascists in that they fought the Nazis. And I said, yes, that's correct in one context. But in another context, if you were anti-fascist, you were pro-communist. And in another context today, if you're an anti-fascist, that just means you're anti-right wing.
Right, exactly.
So these terms evolve over time, and these terms have started to lose meaning, and they've started to lose... I guess the sort of effect that they once had at one point, which is the big problem with language now, that anybody can say anything and have it mean anything, and words don't really matter anymore.
Do you watch Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, because the last season before this newest one,
doesn't he become a socialist or something like that?
Well, it's like communist versus fascist. So that would be like a good example of like, if you're anti-fascist, you're a communist.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the context of that.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite shows. I think the new season is currently airing on BBC, so we're going to get it soon on Netflix. The Peaky fucking Blinders.
We do it because we can.
Because
we fucking can.
By order of the Peaky Blinders.
Well, isn't his voice by order of the Peaky fucking Arthur? His name is Arthur?
They say fucking.
Well, when I worked for Double RL, Double RL was Ralph Lauren's, one of Ralph Lauren's more vintage inspired workwear companies, but we also specialized in vintage suiting from the 1920s and 30s, English cut. So we had a lot of people come in and buy suits for their weddings, and they would come in and they would say, they would bring like a little mood board. It's kind of cute when you see guys bringing in mood boards, but it was all just Peaky Blinders. So it was 3-piece suits, wider lapels, longer jackets and stuff like that with the little stopwatch chains.
What about the hats?
Not stopwatch, but pocket watch. We had newsboy hats and stuff like that. That they can put the.
That's actually the 1920s is one of my favorite decades for fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the men's fashion and the women's fashion, the drop waist dresses, and I just wish that.
Not a fan of the zoot suits. Like the big wide leg suits, if you think the movie The Mask, like that's what he wore, those type of suiting from the late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, I like the early 20s.
Yeah.
I like the almost like flapper.
Oh yeah, there's a great photo of Franklin Roosevelt, I think in his 20s before the polio had gotten to his legs, where if you look up young FDR in a suit. And you'll see this photo of him. I think it's in New York, and he's wearing a bit of a bowler hat with his 3-piece suit that's tailored perfectly, and that's the kind I like. And I have
I see that now.
Yeah, I have a couple of 3-piece suits.
That's really
that I
nice.
love that were inspired by that era.
I wish that both men and women dressed more like this today. I mean, it would be weird if we walked around wearing things like this, but it's like, beauty turns our gaze towards God. I know I'm like getting really deep with
GAZE or GAYS. I was confused by what you meant.
Gaze. Beauty turns our gaze toward God, which is why I think that it is a good thing. I always encourage, I have like a little online group of women. We talk about health and fitness, but part of that we talk about looking good and fashion and beauty and taking care of yourself, because beauty turns our gaze toward God. So I think it's a good thing to present ourselves beautifully to the world. And so I wish that we dressed
nicer. I do too, but there's a practicality to it where there's certain textiles didn't really exist back then. So wearing a 3-piece wool suit in June isn't as attractive as,
Stinky.
Being able to have some material that breathes.
Yeah, but also I think about like BO back then, like sweating back in the 1920s.
Just everybody was smelly, so it didn't really matter.
I don't think, but here's my theory about sweat in the 1920s is that they didn't eat the same kind of diet that we did. That's full of
like
processed
chemically altered and stuff like that. So
which,
it's the way that we excrete those chemicals would be different.
Because the one thing, I mean, I do not recommend this, but when I was an idiot liberal and I went plant-based vegan, I mean, obviously, one of the reasons why people lose weight from the vegan diet is because they stop eating bullshit food, like packaged and processed foods. And, but not that it's a good thing. But one thing I noticed is that my sweat it wasn't stinky.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't have any body odor.
Oh, interesting.
And so I do think, and I know, I mean, so I was in the training, like jujitsu world for a long time, and I studied with Johnny Sapinoso, the Ido Portal method. So I had a lot of training partners. We would train like 16 hours together every week, and like hard stuff, we would sweat a lot. The people who had the best diet, who like didn't eat processed or packaged foods, they like never had BO.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a thing. And so that's why I have a theory that in the 1920s, like they didn't have the same kind of processed and packaged and chemically altered food that we have now. So I don't think that they were that stinky. They're probably sweating a lot, but
maybe.
But I don't think they smelled that bad.
Well, can we go back a little bit further in time? And we were talking about this before we started rolling the cameras, but the show, the prequel to Yellowstone, there's a show called 1883.
1884, 1883.
1883. Really, really great. I mean, I haven't stopped listening to the score since the show ended for me. It's only one season. It's 10 episodes, and it is basically explaining the story of where the current show takes place and how they got there, how this family arrived in either Montana or Wyoming.
So is Tim McGraw Kevin Costner's
Tim McGraw would
grandfather?
Be great grandfather. So it's 7 generations before the current Yellowstone takes place.
So is it in the same areas, like Montana?
So what the whole premise of the show is that the Dutton family, who's played by the patriarch of this family, played by Tim McGraw, John Dutton, they leave Tennessee to move to Oregon. So they're doing the whole Oregon Trail, Western frontier sort of move. And, subsequent things happen during the show that lead them to eventually settle in Montana. But I'm watching this show and, I don't have 7 generations in my family that are traced back to America.
Right. Same.
I have 1 on my mom's side, and I have 2 on my father's side, my father's grandfather. So I have 2 generations there.
Yeah, my great grandmother came here from Italy.
Yeah. And watching the show and seeing Nick said he said, I'm tired of hearing that America's an idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch shows like this, he's right. America isn't an idea. America is, I don't know how to describe it, but America is it's a dream that is tangible. So I can have an idea for anything, but until I make it tangible, until I can touch it, until I can hold it, it's still an idea. America isn't that. The idea of America can be physically grasped, whether it's by enjoying land that you're able to procure yourself, or be able to create things, and America allows entrepreneurship and ingenuity, or it just allows you to express yourself freely, especially coming from any other oppressive culture or oppressive country. And some of the characters in the show came from Germany, where they were religiously oppressed, so they came from Germany to America to be able to live freely, and that was the idea. And watching shows like that, where you see the literal sacrifices that people made coming here and settling here, is just amazing. And I recently watched again, one of the greatest movies ever, The Patriot, with Mel Gibson. And like I said, you don't have to be connected by generations to this country to feel like an American. There's a scene towards the end of The Patriot where I forget which battle they're fighting, but it takes place in South Carolina, and it seems like they're the Jesus Christ, why can't I think? But it seems like the American army is losing. But all of a sudden, a counter surprise attack was launched, and it seems like they're getting the upper hand. And Mel Gibson is telling his troops, "Don't turn around, don't fall back," and he rallies them with the American flag. It's slow motion, and it's awesome. And you see these guys seeing him wave the flag and just becoming emboldened to fight. And they go, running at the enemy. And I never felt, and this is so corny to say, but I've never felt more American. Like, I've had 8 generations of people, 9 generations. Like, I feel like, my people have been there since the Revolutionary War. And what I think is great about America as a place is that and I don't know if this exists anywhere else. I can't go to Japan and feel like, wow, I've been Japanese forever. You know what I mean? I can come here and I can totally embrace what America has to offer and what it's able to give me. And I can feel like I get the feelings, and I almost have like the blood of revolutionaries in me who fought for this country and died for this country during the Revolutionary War and its founding. And I think that really this is the only place where you can feel that way. And it's sad because while I was watching 1883, while I was watching The Patriot, I was just saying, like, that sentiment really I don't see that anywhere anymore. People are outwardly not proud to be American.
Yeah.
They're constantly talking down about this country, and they're constantly talking down about 1/2 of the population. And it's sad to say, and it's sad to see that spirit of, just waving an American flag or displaying it when you hear people saying, when I see an American flag, I'm triggered, or when I see an American flag, I know that person's a Nazi. Like, how did we get here? Yeah.
John said something really great about this that I actually pulled a clip from on TikTok. He said it's by design. What the global elites have done is that they have made us hate America. And there used to be a time of unity where you felt a pride in nation, you felt a pride in community, especially in your Christian community or your religious community. And now that's just stripped away from us, which is why it's so easy to hate America.
It's fine to be patriotic and nationalistic literally anywhere else except for a Western country.
Yeah.
You can't do it in Canada.
This is the thing about the word nationalist. I kind of like self-identified as a nationalist probably like 3 or 4 years ago because I realized that the term, there's nothing wrong with the term. It's a term that's been demonized, and that goes hand in hand with the global elites wanting Americans to hate our own country, is that we think nationalist is like an evil word. You used to see all the publications in 2016, Trump is a nationalist. I'm like, good.
Yeah, he's running for president of the United States.
I want a nationalist. A good book I recommend is called The Virtue of Nationalism. I want a nationalist in office. I want someone who wants Americans to come first and wants to prioritize Americans' needs over anybody else's, and who puts the needs of our country first above any sort of international issues we have going on. I mean, it's a good thing. It's a moral thing to put your countrymen first.
Yeah.
Like we should all be proud nationalists. I mean, look somewhere like we mentioned Japan a couple of times on the show previously too. The Japanese people are like the ultimate nationalists, and that's why their country is so protected, and that's why they have like very strict immigration laws, because they want to preserve that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily want to push back too much against Nick when he was talking about stopping immigration, but I used to be of the mind, listen, if you're going to come here and if you want to be an American first, then, definitely I think there should be a pathway to that. And those are the types of people that should have priority for sure. But when he was talking about that, there's a lot of people here already, and I'm not making it like an issue of overpopulation, because whenever anyone brings up overpopulation, it's just bunk. But I think we have to figure out what's going on here, and we have to figure out that, and we have to say that it's not bad to consider oneself an American, to consider oneself a nationalist. And until we have a country that can get on the same page as far as, that is concerned, then yeah, I don't really think that, more people should be coming over here. I think that we should kind of put a stop to that and figure out what's going on over here.
Yeah, I mean, we meant to talk about immigration many episodes ago before we even started having guests on. And one of the things I wanted to say was that I, for a while, have been in favor of just closing the borders altogether. But what I think is that that's a temporary thing. Like Nick was like, oh, we should need to close borders indefinitely. I'm more of like, I want to close the borders for now, for a while, and assimilate people who have recently immigrated here into American culture. We need to assimilate them so that we have a cohesive culture. And I think that it would be a great thing to close the borders for a while, because there's nothing wrong with protecting our borders for a while and not allowing in even legal immigrants so that we can assimilate everybody and make our country stronger.
Yeah, I think being compassionate can be a problem. And I think as far as America being the most compassionate nation as far as accepting of immigrants, I think that could be a bit of a detriment to it as well. I think, like you said, I think we do really need to enforce the idea of assimilating into the country.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about compassion is, like, I think it is a compassionate thing because what it does, it's compassionate to Americans. It's because at the end of the day, it's a good thing for more immigrants to be assimilated into our culture. So it's having compassions for Americans to close the borders and to have immigrants assimilate into our culture.
Well, it's very tough to want to be compassionate, to people who want to become Americans when we can't even be compassionate to Americans who are here already. Exactly. There was a UFC fighter, I forget his name, but they asked him, "Hey, what do you think's going on about Ukraine? What do you?" And look this up. I forget what his name is, but the dude is from Arkansas, and he's like, "Listen, man, like, I'm not going anywhere to fight. Yeah. If they invade America and they come to Arkansas and people tell me to leave, I'm going to dig my heels into Arkansas."
Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah. And he's like, why are we giving billions of dollars to Ukraine? Why are we giving billions of dollars to other countries when they're American veterans still sleeping under bridges?
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah.
Yes, duh. It's like, duh.
That's why it's very hard for me to kind of, allow myself to think of, like, yeah, we should be very opening and we should be welcoming and accommodating to people who want to come here and be Americans. But I think that there are already plenty of Americans who are here that aren't getting that type of compassion. And I think that needs to be addressed, very, very quickly.
His nickname is Thug Nasty.
Oh, is it really Thug Nasty?
That's his fighter nickname. Thug Nasty.
That's awesome, Thug Nasty.
That's cool. No, yeah. I really liked that little rant he went on. And it was...
Yeah, no, I did too. What we got to do is the next episode that we do when we have, when it's just us again, a lot of people want us to talk about some of the books that we enjoy reading and some books that have made an impact on our lives. I was going to bring one today. I just forgot it when I was going out the door.
I'm reading an Edmund Burke book right now. Let me see if I can find the title. I always forget the name.
Find the title and I'll throw it up behind you.
Yeah. I'll find it and then I'll tell you, where is it? But there's this great chapter I'm reading about the Enlightenment and how reason has replaced opinion and prejudice. And it's just really interesting because we've had a couple guests on that are like anti-Enlightenment. Yeah,
I wish. See, that's the thing when you're having these conversations, especially with the criticisms of not letting people talk. I didn't want to interject too much with Nick, but when he was talking about being anti-Enlightenment and anti-individual liberty, I wanted to ask him to go more in depth to that, but in the moment I just forgot to.
It's called Edmund Burke, the First Conservative.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So do you understand, or has it gotten to the point in the book where they talk about being anti-Enlightenment? Or
I'm just getting there now, so I'm just getting into it. And so, like, one of the things that the Enlightenment completely rejected and threw out was hierarchy.
Right.
And I mean, I'm someone, you look at nature, and especially from a Christian perspective, you look at the way that God has created nature, hierarchy is natural. And so I do think that, I'm in the very early stages of learning about the Enlightenment and why a lot of thinkers like Edmund Burke rejected the Enlightenment. Hierarchy is natural. The challenge is ensuring that the right people rise up, like in terms of like a natural aristocracy. The challenge is making sure that the right people end up at the top of the hierarchy. But I do think that rejecting hierarchy in general is rejecting nature, is rejecting biology, and I don't think it's a good thing at the end of the day.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your opinion.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying this book. So I'll also say this book is like the first half of it is a true biography. It gets into like nitty gritty details of Burke's life, which honestly I skipped over. But the second half of the book is all about his thought and his philosophy and like the people that he would debate with and how his thoughts on conservatism have been passed down. But yeah, he's said to be like the first conservative.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's good. But I'm reading that right now. I mean, I tried to read a couple different things at once. I just got this massive book. I think it's called The Third Reich.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm really interested in learning, because you hear a lot about, the rise of Hitler, but I want to learn more about that history. And I think there's a lot about that history that we have that we can learn from. Oh,
for sure. Yeah, I historical books, they can be a little bit intimidating, especially if they tend to be long books. But I think I have a history on the SS, because I've always found the SS very interesting and fascinating. Yeah. and why Hitler thought they were necessary, and just the origins of them. I got a couple books on Marxism that I could probably throw in the description. I forget the one of them is I guess like the failures of Marxism, or the problems with Marxism, or the failures of socialism, one of those. But that's what I've been reading about lately. And I bought Steve Koonen's last book. He went on Joe Rogan and he was talking about climate alarmism. So I bought his
hysteria.
book. And then I bought, did I buy a Michael Schellenberger book? Yeah, I bought one of those. So 2 books on climate, 2 books on socialism. And then there's this really, really interesting book that I want to bring. I don't necessarily have to bring on and talk about it, but it's called Unintended Consequences. It's a book written by John Ross, which has basically been hidden and banned. And if you try and find it on Amazon, it'll cost you a couple $100. But this book is it's a novel, but it's a historically based novel, and it just talks about the overreaching and over-intruding idea of agencies like the ATF in our lives. So the protagonist is a guy whose family has been involved in gun culture for generations, and it goes over historical examples like Ruby Ridge, there was a bombing in Philadelphia that the mayor basically dropped a bomb from a helicopter that the FBI and the ATF participated in. And
it costs $50 on Amazon for the paperback.
Yeah, no, it's more expensive for the hardcover.
Hardcover's $150.
Yeah, but what was there? There was a protest post World War I. You guys in the comments just mention what this is, because I can't remember off the top of my head. There was a protest in World War I of soldiers who came back and were protesting that they weren't getting things that were promised to them, either in a GI Bill. What did they call the protest? Like the Reserve Army protest, or I forget what it was called, but it was a protest that got raided by then General Patton in Washington, D.C., and I think Hoover told Patton to suppress the protest. And it was just basically anytime there's been government overreach and government mishap regarding, firearms raids and stuff like that. But it's a really great book, so I recommend it a lot if you can get your hands on it. It's called Unintended Consequences.
So I found the book about the Third Reich. It's called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, A History of Nazi Germany. It's ginormous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, it's one of those books you don't want to take in public because it has the swastika and like very big on the cover.
Yeah, it's turned some eyes. Yeah. Maybe not so much down here, but
it's a great book to bring on a plane for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
There was another book I wanted to mention that I was reading. Oh, speaking of socialism, a book that I just finished was The Case Against Socialism by Rand Paul. It's a good one. Okay. It's like a good basic starter book on socialism if you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. And feel free, guys, to drop book recommendations in the comments, DM us. Tell us what a great job we're doing, or tell us how much of a horrible job we're doing. But this was good because now we at least have the same backgrounds.
Continuity.
Yeah. That's it. What do you say?
I think that's good.
Episode 18 in the books. We hope you guys stayed for this one. There's no guest, but
the next one might have a guest where should we say who it might be or who it's going to be, just depending on when?
Let's not do that.
All right, he's great. He's great. He's somebody that I think shouldn't exist behind a paywall, but we'll talk to him about that.
I like these episodes where it's just us, because we should do that. We should have a bunch of guests and then do an episode where it's just the two of us, where we can look back on it.
I like to debrief on guests.
Debrief. We'll call this episode the Debrief.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like the episode, please share, tag us, follow us, subscribe, and thank you.
Now I got to deal with people yelling at me.
I have to pee so bad.
Bye.